Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with my thinking hat on for journalism, and I figured let's see what can I do for you guys today. Thinking a little bit more about of my reporter Norman Spencer because we are going to be doing and reviewing again. You guessed it. Yes, we are back to 24 Season 1 for this Idiotic short review, and I'm here to give you a short review on the 4am part of it as well. Should be easy to remember favorite characters because I'm starting to remember who plays who, but I would have to say that for this one, there's multiple things happening. Janet York, who survived being run over by a car in the middle of the night in Los Angeles when Kim and her were running from Dan and Rick, basically survived. She's taken in for surgery, getting worked on as Alan York and Terry Bauer end up going there, trying to find out who got hit. They find out it's Janet, and they're basically awaiting it out and, doing things like relieving pressure on Janet's spine. She suffered multiple injuries. Terry's upset because Jack's trying to tell her stuff that's going on and that he's also looking for Kim. Terry doesn't understand. She's upset with Jack a little bit. Alan York is trying to console Terry Bauer a little bit to get that all down. So there's that going on at that moment. Plus, Janet is in danger as she's beginning to flatline during surgery. So will she survive or not? We don't know in this 4 a.m. part of the morning of the episode of 24 Season 1. Jack is also trying to go after Pentecoff because he knows he has to get the information about his daughter from Pentecoff, or what Pentecoff knows. So he goes to the police station, creates a whole bunch of chaos because he's trying to talk to Pentecoff to try to get him out of the police station because that's the only way that he'll tell Bauer what happens to his daughter, because he needs to get out of the police station. So he creates a bunch of pain for the cops. George Mason even tries to intercede because he found out from the last episode where Jack was. So he tries to intercede to stop him. Doesn't work out at all. Jack actually does, through clever means, by fighting up the cops, having Pentecoff grab a key card. Pentecoff gets out of the police station, him and Jack escape. They go down to fetch a car where basically Pentecoff gets a call from a cell phone that's hooked to a payphone, and he's told by Ira Gaines to get rid of a body, and we don't know who this body is, but it's a badly mutilated body. George Mason ends up showing up, trying to get, Jack Bauer back and Pentecoff back. Basically, Jack Bauer lets them have Pentecoff since, he didn't really have a huge link to Kim, but he knows that these people have Kim Bauer and that it's connected to this body somehow, and possibly even to the Palmer hit, as Jack ends up telling Mason. Jack and George Mason come to an understanding because Jack Bauer thought he couldn't trust George Mason. There's an understanding. Maybe we can trust George Mason. Maybe we can't. We don't know yet, but it's leading to those roads. They come to an understanding. Mason is going to go grill Pentecoff for more information, then head back to Division. Jack Bauer is bringing this dead body to CTU to be analyzed to find out who this John Doe is. The fingers and things that badly mutilated. This body's basically been beaten the shit out of. We also have things continuing with Kim, Dan and Rick hand Kim over to Ira Gaines. Kim's trying to cause trouble for Ira Gaines. Ira Gaines puts him in the trunk. Dan and Rick, are arguing, should they get the money or split, should they not? Dan tells Rick, let's stay. We're going to both get $10,000, $20,000 each. They head to the compound. Ira Gaines basically admits to Rick and Dan that Janet York is alive. He heard from his sources that she was alive. So, basically as penance, he ends up killing Dan. He ends up killing Dan, tells Rick he got promoted, and there's Dan lying dead in the ground because, you did not do the job. You die now, sir. So that's basically where that leads. And also we have stuff continuing with the Palmer campaign, where Palmer's trying to find out what's going on with this thing with Maureen Kingsley, the rape of Nicole. He basically has a talk and plan with Maureen Kingsley that, did my son do these things? And she said, well, Lyle Gibson was attacked. He had similar cuts and bruises on his body where he fell to his death. Your son there was a person who had similar cuts and bruises under a believe it was a fake name of Edward Johnson, or we're to believe it's a fake name of Edward Johnson, but it's also written in Keith's handwriting apparently, and Palmer does not want to believe this at all. He actually questions Keith and tries to grill Keith, somewhat maddeningly so, as he's desperate to find out this information. Keith doesn't say anything, but he's saying like, whoa, my father's grabbing me, this is getting weird, and Palmer's realizing what he's doing, so he's realizing he's getting pretty violent about this, so that's raising a lot of stakes too. Either way, that is 4 a.m. in a quick nutshell, as quick as I could do it, that I have deduced for you. Basically, the best characters in this episode, you know, Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer. I also have to give it to George Mason, you know, played by Xander Berkeley. Great role for him too. Also have got to give it to, as well, Michael Massey, who plays Ira Gaines. Great villain, and that whole thing at the end with him and Dan and Rick. Superbly done. Basically makes you know you do not want to mess with Ira Gaines. You don't want to mess with this person at all. Not at all. And overall, it was a great episode. A great episode with the mystery, you know, things are picking up. Ira Gaines is gaining power. Kim's life is in question. Janet York may die. You know, Jack is trying to find out what are all the connections. Palmer and his family stuff is getting wider. So it's a very great thing indeed. But what do you think of 24 Season 1, 4 a.m. to 5 a.m.? Do you like this episode? Do you think it's a good one? Let me know in the comments below, and just let me know how it turns out for you guys, alright? Until then, this has been an investigative report by 4am-5am and Deuces.